Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Minding My Mental Health. I am Tenitria Williams, licensed professional counselor, and today I have Laura Tapley joining me today. She is a special education teacher with a lot of experience, and today, you guys know what I want you to do as you are joining. We want you to hashtag live. If you are watching us live, you'll know you're watching live because it will have live in the top corner. Let us know where you're watching from, and hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. You'll know if you're watching replay because it will not have live in the corner. Again, let us know where you're watching from. Share this with your friends, your family. Tag a teacher. If you know a teacher that's out working hard, go ahead and tag them. If you know an administrator, tag them. If you know principals, school board members, anybody in the educational field, heck, tag your parents, tag the parents out there as well, because we're going to talk about minding our mental health. And today we're going to talk about it from our teachers' perspective of how our teachers are taking care of themselves, how we can help support them, and just overall what we can do to tear down the stigma of taking care of our mental health and bringing awareness into our communities. Laura, thank you so much. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the broadcast. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been a teacher, where you're teaching, all of those things.
Well, I've been teaching I've taught 40 years so far. In the fall, year 41. My background is special education, but I've done a little bit of everything. I've taught at mental hospitals, I've taught at private academies, I've taught at private Christian academies. I've taught of course, in the public school setting. So I have a broad range of experience in different settings. So that's basically, it in a nutshell. Teaching is what I do.
Did you always know you wanted to be a teacher? Like, was this a passion from a young age?
Well, in the very beginning, I was going to become a psychiatrist. That was going to be my goal. So I was going to go to med school, become a psychiatrist, blah, blah, blah. Then I decided I was going to change paths, and I decided to become an EBD teacher and start working with children with emotional and behavioral disorders.
Mm-hmm.
So I've done that the majority of my teaching. So that's it in a nutshell.
Wow. So what grade do you teach, or are you teaching a specific grade?
Right now, I'm doing fourth and fifth. The majority of my years at Centerville Elementary, which is where I am in Gwinnett County, I was doing third and fourth. I had some years where I just had a fourth grade. I didn't have a combined class. But, if you do EBD and special ed, those smaller specialized classes, you're subject to have third, fourth, and fifth grade combined.
Right.
And so I've had that over the years. Now, in the fall, I'm going to change disciplines, and I'm going to be going, instead of doing SLD self-contained, I'm going to do interrelated. So I'll be doing just fifth grade.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that sounds really cool. Now, tell us, you said you've got a lot of experience. How have you seen things shift in education over the years, as when you started to now? What's it different? Because I hear that a lot. It's not the same. Teachers are saying it's not the same as it used to be. What do you think is shifting in education?
Well, when I started teaching in Old Dark, 1982 is when I started teaching. Public Law 94-142, which is the big law that everyone talked about, that said that everyone, should have a free and appropriate public education. It was the big push for special education and making sure that special ed students received instruction and that they weren't ostracized and set off to the side. Prior to that time, special ed basically was, you just kind of put them in the corner and let them do it. No real attention was given to them. And then even as far as education was concerned, I can speak more from my personal experience. It was more designed towards trying to make sure that children got what they needed. If a student did not know their multiplication tables, they worked with us until we got the multiplication tables because they had the time availability. They were not trying to be on a certain content by a certain time. So that has been the biggest change over the years. Children first has changed.
Wow.
It's become more political. It's become more about um, someone on the outside of education, outside of the realm of education, making decisions for educators and for the educational.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have these places we're supposed to be by certain times, content we're supposed to teach, whether the students are ready for the content or not. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I've seen over the years it causes all sorts of levels of frustration. You're trying to teach, and not only in my area, because I teach special ed, and of course my students are going to be two, at least 2 to 3 grade levels below the standard. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm talking about those teachers that teach students that are supposed to be in the general ed setting, and they're expected to teach these concepts, but the students don't have the foundational skills
Right.
necessary in order to reach these standards. And the teachers are not given the liberty to say, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. They have some kind of autonomy, but not really the autonomy that we had when
Mm-hmm.
first started.
Mm-hmm.
If my class did not have a skill, I could stay on the skill until they got it. Um, but teachers don't have that liberty. They have to go ahead. They have to proceed. In a sense, I kind of understand that, because if you have a class that struggles, because every class has its own personality,
Right.
every class has its own skill level. You have some classes that you could slow down, you could stay at a particular content for a long period of time, they get it, and then all of a sudden they pick up exponentially. They're probably
Mm-hmm.
exponential. But then you do have some classes that are struggling, and if you stay on a particular content the majority of the year, they may get it and they may not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I understand to a certain degree why they made standards and put times and deadlines for the standards, but some of them are so rigid that we're still leaving the children.
Yeah.
I was teaching when the No Child Left Behind craze, and
Mm-hmm.
all of our children behind.
Oh.
Yeah, when they start talking about children being able to read To Kill a Mockingbird, that's there are lots of children that will never read To Kill a Mockingbird. But to tell a child that they're less than um, successful if they can't read that novel, that they're less successful if they can't use the skills that they do have, if they
Mm.
hone in on the skills that they do have and make a living with those skills, is unfair to the population. It's unfair to America as a whole, because every child is not college material. And
Mm.
that's unfair to say that every child will go to college. That's unfair. Because if everyone is in college, then we saw during the pandemic, our country was stabilized by the people that worked the trash man.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? The people that drove the trucks, that got
Mm-hmm.
from one place to one grocery store to another. Those people, the blue collar workers that kept the country running. If everybody was off trying to be Ivy League, who is going to do those jobs?
Mm.
Who's going to keep the cars running? Who's going to come in and see about your?
So what I'm hearing from you, Laura, is really this idea of making sure that every child is successful um, individually and not trying to make everyone fit into a certain box.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this: with those standards and a lot of kids being behind, I've worked in a school system. I've not worked like for the school, but I've worked in a school system. When children are behind academically, they tend to act out more in the classroom. Um, Tell me behaviorally, what kind of things, and emotionally, what kind of things are teachers seeing children are struggling with besides just, your typical, I don't know this word, so I'm going to be disruptive. That's kind of typical. What things are you seeing now that the kids are dealing with as far as emotional stuff?
Well, first of all, especially now after COVID,
Mm-hmm.
students that we're dealing with now, they had 2 years outside of the school setting.
Yeah.
They've come in and they have this mentality that says, I'm not accountable, do the work for me, or I don't have to do the work. My parents will come in and they will raise sand with you because I don't have to get it done. There's no kind of accountability, no ownership in learning. I won't say no because that's extreme. You have some children that work very hard,
Yeah.
but overall, and that was one of the things that I was hearing a lot from my coworkers. You know, they were extremely burnt out because of the fact students are not motivated to put their very best foot forward. Part of that lack of motivation is we're trying to teach them again skills that they don't have. They missed 2 years of skills,
Mm-hmm.
and then the skill expectation didn't change very much from prior to COVID. It was hard enough for some of our students prior to COVID. Now, the skill expectation is still the same, but now these kids have lost years of
Wow.
instruction,
Yeah.
you know, so they're unmotivated. Disrespect is one of the biggest things that we're seeing. Um, they're acting out. You have some that's doing some acting out or whatever, but the lack of respect for authority is
Mm-hmm.
where we're seeing the breakdown. Because if, as a child, if I respect my authority figure and my authority figure says, I need you to get this work done and I need it to be done by a certain time, I'm
Mm-hmm.
what's best. I'm going to do my best to get it done by that time,
Right.
as opposed to saying, I don't have to do it. If I don't do it by this particular time, give me more time. And how come you can't give me more time? Something's
Mm.
wrong with you because you won't give me more time. You're being mean. Uh,
How is
that-
this impacting the teachers and their mental health dealing with this day to day? Because I know it's only so much disrespect somebody can take.
it's wearing down a lot of good teachers. It really is, because it's hard if you prepare yourself as a teacher. You go in, you do preparation over the weekends, after school, you get these great lessons done. You try to incorporate all of these strategies to try to reach the children that don't have the necessary skills. So, you do spiral activities. We try to build in strategies to meet those kids that are not quite where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make excuses that say, it's the children's fault. They don't have it. No, we build in those things to try to bridge the gaps for those kids. So we prepare these wonderful lessons, and you go in and you put forth your best instruction. We do that pony song and pony dance or whatever. We get in there, we do whatever we
Uh-huh.
know, and you have a child over there that's totally apathetic,
Mm-hmm.
totally not paying attention, and then they're not paying attention, and so they're talking with their friend, and then you say, now look, I'm trying to teach you, and I have lots I want to teach you. We have goals. We have them do goal setting. This is
Mm-hmm.
for the end of the year. Try to give them some responsibility. Remember your goal. You're trying to, improve your reading level by at least 2 grade levels, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that child might not be interested, and so they kind of engage another student and you know uh, distract the class, and so the teacher has to stop this wonderful lesson, redirect the student that's a distraction, remotivate those that kind of
Mm.
you know and so you've kind of lost some of your ground. You've lost some of your time, you've lost some of your energy. That takes energy,
Yeah.
redirect. So yeah, it's burned out a lot of teachers. And so I know in our system they're doing lots of things to try to keep teachers motivated. Some of they've lessened some of the expectation on us as teachers. They've kind of
Mm.
backed us a little bit, because at one point, it was really, how can I say this? It was the expectation was really, really tight. You know,
Mhm.
you knew somebody was looking over your shoulder. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? The expectation was real strict. And they've backed off a little bit as far as breathing over our shoulders. The expectation is still the same because the children still need to be taught.
Right.
But they're giving us a little more breathing room because they understand that, first of all, not only did the children experience COVID,
Mhm.
being away from their friends, but a lot of teachers experienced loss. They had friends to die, loved ones,
Yeah.
and they're dealing with their own personal health. I have friends, and myself included, since COVID, there have been some things that I've had some difficulty shaking, you know.
Mhm.
So there's some things, even though it's not called necessarily long COVID, but at my last doctor's appointment, the doctor did say that he is seeing typical things like a sinus infection that, people at one point had been able to kind of shake.
Mhm.
They get infected with a sinus infection and they can't shake it. It
Mm.
lasts for months. And that's kind of, and he says, and that's been since COVID. So
Wow.
um, teachers are dealing with their own physical health, their own family's health. They have children,
Right.
that they have to see about. So yeah, it's a lot. It is. It's a lot. But we do a lot of talking about maintaining our own emotional uh,
Mhm.
well-being. And our uh, training meetings, where we planning, where we do our, right now I can't think of the name of it, CLT, um, learning team meetings. We get together and we talk about our lesson plans and training and all of that, but they also take time to say, how are you? How are you as a
That's
person?
good because I don't think a lot of schools are doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say that. I'm not hearing of a lot of schools doing that. And I, because you are watching, if you are in a school system and your teachers or your school is doing that, let us know because we want to, shout out good schools that are trying to make sure they take care of the teachers because I hear a lot and I see, especially on social media, I have several friends who are teachers and I am seeing so much of, every year you see teachers tired at the end of the year. That's nothing new. But lately, I feel like I'm seeing more absolute drain. They are absolutely drained from the behavioral stuff that they're having to deal with at school, with the expectations that you talked about, the apathy from the students, the apathy from some of the parents, and they are just really, really tired. What feedback or advice would you give to someone who says, "I am burned out, but I'm not quite. I don't want to leave this profession, but I don't know what else to do. I'm tired." What advice would you give to them?
Well, I know personally, and this is kind of what's working for me because I'm in the process of kind of doing some of these things that I'm talking about now. I had to take a step back because I was one, if the expectation was a certain level, I did everything I could to make sure that I met that expectation.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that I was slacking on my job, but I drive myself. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's kind of my personality. And so I was driving and pushing and driving and pushing. And finally, I realized that I was doing more harm to myself than good. And if I harmed myself, then who was going to teach my children? What good was it going to do my children if I was at home curled up in a ball in my bed?
Yeah.
So that wasn't going to help my students. And emotionally, wasn't together because, if you're under a lot of stress and you're dealing with a lot of emotional weight, it begins to show up physically.
Hmm.
So I had to say, okay, I have to take a step back. I had to see, what can I really do? What is a reasonable expectation for my class for today? What am I going to do today?
Mm.
Okay. And then I would go in and I would gauge and do what I could do for that day. If I had a lot of behavioral issues, I dealt with the behavior, and I didn't continue to try to drive and push to try to make
Mm,
time that I lost that day. But fortunately, um, I had a pretty good rapport with my kids, and I think fast on my feet. You know what I'm saying? So I did have some situations where I had some pretty severe behaviors in my class, but I was able to kind of work my way through them. I had people that helped me. I reached out.
say that again. Who
I,
did you reach out? When you say reach out, what did that mean? What did it look like?
I talked to fortunately, I had a special ed AP that was understanding. She did not give me a lot of kickback or pushback when I
Mm-hmm.
tight situation where my kids were.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to say, look, I'm having a hard time with, this particular student, but I did not always just go with griping. If I went to her, I went with a strategy. So I said, I'm having a difficult time with this student. I'm thinking I'm going to try this. And so she would always give me the wiggle room to try. And then I
That's
would go
good.
that. And I said, okay, I tried this. This is working. This is not. So I'm going to tweak my plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I would always write it up and give it to her and my main principal. Everyone knew,
Mm-hmm.
we had a behavioral person in the school as well. And so I would say, look, this is what's going on with my little friend, blah, blah, blah. This is what we're going to be planning. And
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about this? So we all worked together. We worked in concert. So that really helped me because of the fact that I felt supported. You know,
That's
uh,
big.
that was big. Yes, absolutely. Um, there were some issues that were major that I didn't feel the support that I needed. Um, and it was kind of heavy, but since I had support on this other aspect, I was able to work my way through all of it.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
every teacher is not going to feel the level of support that I felt.
Yeah.
And that's true, because I've been in settings and I haven't always felt the kind of support that I felt, dealing with these particular students. So, and in those cases, um, you definitely have to come up with a plan as to what you can do and be okay with what you can do within your realm of possibilities. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm a slacker. That is not what I'm saying at all. And I'm not saying make excuses for yourself because a lot of times you'll hear teachers that are overwhelmed. They'll say,
Mm-hmm.
well, the parents are not doing their job, or we're in a poor area, or this is a Title I school, or this is, all,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and I know why they're saying that. I'm not trying to slam anyone. They're saying
Mm-hmm.
it. They're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
They don't see any other strategy. They've tried strategies that they know, and the strategies have not worked. So to keep from saying it's me, survival, you're going to survive. You're going to rise up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what that comes from. But
Mm-hmm.
to keep from just resorting and saying I'm throwing up my hand and it's everyone else's fault, the best strategy that I have found, even in those situations, is to determine what can I do.
Mm.
What can I do for today? How can I be my most effective today in this particular class with these particular?
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that's just a mental health tip for everybody. Sometimes when we're overwhelmed, to just be able to stop and say, what can I do today? What's a reasonable expectation for today with what I'm dealing with who I'm dealing with, all of those things. And I can still come out and have a victorious day, even if I didn't do all of the things that someone else said I should do. But I did what I could do today. So I
right.
just think that's a really good tip for people to just hear in general.
And one of the things that help, especially your young teachers, that's
Hmm.
new. I'm 40 years in. they're not going to give me too much grief because they know me. I
Right.
know my reputation. They know my work ethic. And it is difficult when you're a new teacher or you are a newer teacher and they're beginning to learn you.
Mm.
So you feel like prove yourself. I can't let them catch me slipping. I've got to be on top of my game.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure. So my only suggestion for someone in that position is, again, do your very best. And on your very best days, because we have those days when we know we were excellent. You say, I knocked that out the park. We know that. So on those days, um, we have a app on our journals, on our school site, where you can go in and you can log in some of the things that you've done with your class. Take video, take pictures, log what you're doing, your best days.
That's good.
Don't feel vain, too vain to send it to those people over you. Let them see it. Because I'm like, well, I'm modest. I don't want them to feel like I'm bragging. I can't. No, there are going to be some times when they're going to need to know that you have put your very best foot forward. So on those days when they come in and there's a child laying in the middle of your floor having a 120% meltdown, and the rest of your children are sitting there staring at the child, no teaching is being done, they need to remember that day when you had everybody engaged.
Yeah.
Everybody was learning. It was a very creative lesson. You felt good. You felt confident. They need to see that, so.
And the teacher probably needs that reminder as well.
Right. Absolutely. So, that will go a long way. If you don't have that support that you feel like you need to have, document.
Yeah.
Documentation. Send it to the parents. We use Dojo. I don't know if all of the schools in the area use it, but when we do activities in the class, I take video, and of course from the parents, but I take video and I send it to the parents and put it on the class story so that they can see what's going on a daily. It not only helps them see that, okay, yes, my child is learning, but then it gives them an idea as to my strategies, because of course, all of my parents say, what is this that y'all are doing in math? We didn't know,
Right.
So it teaches them what we're doing and helps them to feel more part of what's in the classroom, so that's definitely a survival skill,
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I saw an article yesterday about teachers. I think it was yesterday. It was this week, I know, about teachers leaving the profession in higher numbers than usual. And they talked about the teacher shortage. And there are a lot of different reasons as to, what's going on. Some of that's political, some of that's all kinds of stuff. How does that shortage impact the teachers that are still there?
Well, it impacts because our class sizes might be larger. I know that this spring, if anyone got sick, a lot of times classes had to be split because they couldn't find subs that would come take classes. So if there's a shortage, then somebody else has to carry the weight.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll be able to disperse the classes in a way that does not overwhelm the teachers that chose to remain, and then it plays on you mentally. You think, I'm still here in the trenches and they've left. In other words, y'all have abandoned us.
Yeah.
Y'all have abandoned us and left us to do the work, as opposed to getting in here, rolling up those sleeves and helping us, so. But
and then I have to say too, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't fault the teachers that have left. Because at one point this spring, I told my principal, I said I would have quit. But my desire for seeing my students learn and my commitment to my particular students this spring and their families helped me to stay. I couldn't just walk away from that commitment.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, because I do know a lot of teachers had to walk away for their own mental health,
Yeah.
saying, hey, this is a lot. And I saw, and you probably have seen many videos of teachers either breaking up fights or actually being in the fights with the students because of just multiple reasons, whether that was the student attacked them or if they just got disrespected to the point where they kind of broke or whatever. It's a lot that a lot of people don't recognize that teachers are actually dealing with. I know when I was in the schools, again, I was from a counseling perspective, mental health counseling perspective.
Mm-hmm.
There were times when, we would have to do specific holds on students, and stop. Students would literally be in there throwing desks, and you know me, a lot of people don't actually know what I look like, but I'm a short little person. So thankfully I was in an elementary school, so most of the time I was bigger. Most of the time, every now and then some of those kids were even bigger than me. And so it really can be tough for teachers. What can you say to someone who has to work in an environment where there is either that type of the physical acting out or just the disrespect? What can they do on a daily basis to kind of unwind at the end of their day? What would be, or what is your kind of routine to say, I can try to dump that day?
One of the things that has helped me is, and I learned this through counseling.
Shout out to counseling.
I went to counseling. That's first and foremost, because of the fact that it does stir up levels of anger inside of you that you cannot explain. If a child is standing there cursing you, and I've been cursed by I've some serious words,
Yeah.
and disrespect, and being totally aggressive or whatever, you cannot respond in a way that's natural. So with all of that anger, you have to take that anger and you have to keep it down. You have to bottle it in for that time anyway and manage it. Classroom and a parent is totally disrespecting you, cursing you out, and this, and you have to be professional. But it makes you angry because you're a human being.
Right.
That anger, and you have to, So now, if you don't do positive strategies with that anger, you end up turning it in on yourself, and that's when the comes in. That's when drinking comes in, or other kind of self-sabotaging activities. One of the things that helped me is my counselor would say journal. Journaling helps me. Exercise, most definitely. Getting out in my yard, finding that expression, creativity. I would play the keyboard. I don't play the keyboard as much as I have in times past. Now my artistic expression is getting out of my yard, because that's hard work. I'm digging in that hard red clay. I'm using those muscles, releasing some endorphins. But I had to find some things that that I was able to kind of release some negative energy through, because it was taking its toll on me.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, could you say that last thing again?
That's what I would suggest.
I think I love all of those things. Like you said, getting a counselor. Everybody on here knows I'm a proponent for people getting counseling. So if you are a teacher and you are not seeing a counselor, by all means, sign up to see somebody, because you do, like Laura was saying, we need a place, or you need a place. I'm not in the classroom. You need a place where you can talk through some of the emotions you have to deal with on a daily basis. And it doesn't mean you failed or that you're weak in any way by getting a counselor. The other thing you said was the physical exercise. I'm also a big proponent for that. Is a great stress reliever. When you can just get out there and move your body, it's like, whew, that felt good. That was nice. Now you may be tired at the end, but it is a really healthy way without all the negative side effects of some things. What happens when a teacher, you can see them engaging in some of the more negative coping skills. Like maybe they do go home and they're, um, they're drinking a lot, or they're using drugs or whatever. What would you say to that person?
Well, first and foremost, my first comment to them would be, I understand where you are, most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of times when you're struggling like that, and then you're using those coping mechanisms that are less than positive, then you feel guilty about the fact that you're
Mm.
coping mechanism, and then you can't reach out for help because I'm guilty because I'm using these coping mechanisms. So it's a snowball effect. You get,
Right.
so I would say I understand totally. I totally understand. I listen to some of my coworkers and they'll say, "Woo, this is a bottle of wine night." Get that. What?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against that, but it's like when it gets to be two bottles every night. You understand?
Right.
You know, um, and then there are other ways too that are where we self sabotage. We take it out on our children, or take it out on on our spouses or whatever. That anger is going to come out one way or the other. So the only thing I could suggest is find a space to say, this was, I'm here today, but tomorrow's a different day. So I'm here today. Tomorrow, I will choose and just pick one thing that they're going to do to try to make that thing change. If it was a person that was a uh, two bottles of wine a night person, okay, well, tonight it'll be one bottle, okay.
Mm.
Or if it's like, if I just have to have wine every night, or throw back a fifth a night or whatever, okay, I'm going to pare it down. I might, just bring it down just to taste it. It's
Mm-hmm.
the place where I'm free of crutches that are more self-sabotaging than helpful.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If it's anger, you're going home and you're taking it out. I can't. Fortunately for me, I come home, I just have fits, and if they get on my nerves, I open the back door. Y'all go out there and play. You know what I'm saying? I,
Right.
but I cannot imagine, and I can't speak for the parents because I'm not one. But I can only imagine. I know how exhausted I am at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and emotionally done at the end of the day. And I've heard some of my coworkers say that when they get home, they feel guilty because they don't have anything left to give their natural children.
Mm.
They don't have anything left. They're done. So, the only thing maybe I could say that would even, I don't want to offend anyone, because they could say, well, you don't have children, but I do know that I had to start with some of my strategies where I was,
Mm.
because some of my behaviors were self-sabotaging. I had to start where I was, and I had to say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to do less of XYZ.
Yeah.
I not eat the whole bag of chips. It might be
Right.
a small bag. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just going and just eating half of a cake, or a whole quart of ice cream, you know,
Right. Right.
are they in those places? You understand? So I'm like, okay, instead of eating the whole candy bar, maybe I'll eat a half of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe in confession, though. And I had to start talking to those things
Yeah.
that had me bound. And I would be partaking, and I'd say, look, you will not control me.
That's right.
You will not control me. I have the authority, and I will walk in victory from, I had to walk in victory from anger, from bitterness, from resentment, from grief. You
Mm-hmm.
all of those things. I had to walk away from all of that. So I can imagine that those strategies that worked for me in all of
Mm-hmm.
the different areas, and I had many of them uh, that worked in all of those areas, and I'm still using them. That they'll work in the areas where families, teachers have to go home to their families and deal with their husbands. And I've had husbands, I've had my bonus daughter that lived with us. So I did have that experience, so I still had to come home and give and be a wife,
Mhm.
be a mom or whatever. So fortunately, at those times, that was prior to the anger level getting to the place where it just would just explode. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I was able to kind of do those functions, but for those people who, if you go home and you're unable to deal with your family because you're so just burnt out, pick that one thing that you can do. I have a coworker that says she tells her family, just give me 10 minutes. When I come,
Mhm.
just give me 10. She would go in, she would take her 10, she would, get her bubble bath or do whatever, something that was relaxing to her. I have another coworker that her thing is reading. Just give me a few minutes. I'm going to come home. I'm going to take my clothes off. Let me have some reading time.
Mhm.
Rejuvenate. And then she's ready to roll.
Yeah.
So every person has to find what works for them.
Yeah. So if you're watching right now, if you are a teacher or again in the school system, go ahead and drop in the comment section some things that you do or that you can start to do to start to take care of your mental health when we're going through all of those challenges. Laura, I know you've had some challenges on your job, but you've also had some victories. Tell us about some of those moments that really felt, whether it was that one student that started off really low or just a professional highlight. What are some of those victories you've experienced over the years?
Well, I've had I've had lots. One of the things that I take pride in is I've had the opportunity to see several of my students grow up. They're grown now. They have children of their own. I have students that I've taught who have children that's the same age of the grade that I'm teaching now.
Wow.
I have students that I've taught who had kids that graduated from high school this year. One of my students that I taught has a son that's in the military. Now, he graduated from high school, but several years ago, and he's in the military. I mean, so I'm watching them grow up and they've become
Mhm.
adults. And one in particular um, has gone into school. She's the behavioral person at a school in Montgomery County. So
Wow.
that's interesting because they knew I'm strict. I am strict, but my students know I love them. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
um, and so she's kind of carried some of that same strictness, but she loves her baby. They know she loves them. So, I've seen that happen. I've seen, I taught at a residential treatment facility with all boys that had behavioral and emotional problems. And um, I've seen one in particular. He's gone on. He's established a family, has a job, has a wife, kids. I'm thinking that's
Wow.
wonderful. I remember him as a third grader. He was removed from his family, and we had taken the kids on a field trip to Gulf Shores. And we were in this restaurant, and they were throwing food or whatever, and it was just really just a real festive atmosphere, and it was just food just everywhere. And this baby was removed from his home because his family wouldn't feed him, and the
Mhm.
found out that he was removed, well, that he was being neglected, was because every day right after lunch he would ask to go to the bathroom every day. And finally a teacher followed him and found him. He was first grade then. Found him in the dumpster collecting food and putting food in his pockets
Wow.
because they wouldn't feed him. So go years, some years forward. He's third grade now. We're on this field trip, and the students at this facility have to earn it because we took them off the grounds and
Mhm.
to this place or whatever, at the beach or whatever. And so all this food is around, and he looks up at me. We're not talking about his family at all. We're just just enjoying the atmosphere. You know, they came, they would play pranks, everything. The restaurant was just real good,
Mhm.
you know. So all of us were sitting around, and he just looked up at me, and he had the biggest, roundest blue eyes, and he says, "I was Miss White then." He said, "Miss White, you know, my family wouldn't feed me just out of the clear blue."
Mm.
And I said, "Well, I know, baby." I said, "I know that they didn't feed you." I said, "But you're safe. You know, you can get whatever you need, whatever food you want, you can get it." You know, so that stuck out to me. You know, I had a student this year that he was fifth grade. I got him last year for the second half of the year. Then he left me and went to fifth grade, but they had to split the fifth grade, so I ended up getting him back.
Mhm.
When I got him last year, he still did not know his alphabet.
Mm.
So he's right there cognitively where it could be identified SLD, or he could have a mild intellectual deficit. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
he cognitively he struggled with his alphabet, and as he had dyslexia extremely bad. And, so we worked with the alphabet last year. We worked with it this year, uh, and of course, you know that the self-esteem was really low.
Mhm.
So when he and I would work together, he would whisper. He didn't want the other kids to know that he didn't know how to read.
Yeah.
So we finally got to the place where he was able to read sentence. He read his sentence.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I said, "Oh, dude, you read a sentence." You know, he was embarrassed. He kind of, you know, I text my AP. I said, so read a sentence. He read a whole sentence. You know, so he's read a couple of sentences. He still is not flying through the books. You know, and he's about to go to sixth grade, so he's going to struggle. You know,
Mhm.
days he's going to have to use technology in order to try to read things or
Yeah.
whatever. But he uses technology now to compose paragraphs and stuff. He's good at it, you know. So
Yeah.
he uses speech to text or whatever. But we were trying to get that reading piece under control, you know. But he's one of those students that I was talking about in the very beginning. He cognitively now, when we talk about certain things and situations and talk about character sketches and what characters are doing and analyzing stories, he can tell you what's going on.
Mhm.
It process. He's one of those kids that if you show him how to do it over and over and over again, repetition and practice. Show him, you know,
Yeah.
until he learns it. Put him out there and let him make money for him and his family.
Mhm.
How to go in the store, you know, I would tell him, I said, now look, you're going to have to learn how to read Fruit Loops on the box for yourself. Because Miss
Mhm.
Tapley won't be in Walmart while you're trying to buy cereal for your babies. You know, they would say, "Ew," you know, they would laugh. We don't want babies. That's okay. Y'all, y'all are going to be showing me your family. And, you know, some years from now, you're going to see me in Walmart and you're going to say, Miss Tapley, I want you to meet. This is not
Mhm.
able to read the cereal for them. I won't be there. You know, you're going to have to be able to buy your bread, that sort of thing. So that's what I'm talking about. Helping them to be, they can be functional,
Yeah.
contribute to society. They don't have to go to college to be a contribution
Mhm.
to society, you know?
Let me ask you this. What can parents and just community members do to better support teachers during this time? Now, obviously, it's summertime, but when school starts back, we have teacher appreciation, those little things. But just on a continual basis, what can we do to support teachers? Again, kind of from that mental health perspective, but just in general, because I think if they are in a healthier environment, their mental health is going to naturally improve, you know?
Right. Um, Come into the school and volunteer to read. Read for class. It doesn't even have to be your child's class. Just volunteer to come in and read. Um, Volunteer to be a class parent, a class parent. And then that way that teacher, of course, they would do some vetting, to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're, appropriate or whatever. But come in, and if it's a business, come in and support by providing supplies, provide the things that some of these kids need. This year, most of my students did have their supplies, but I did have to go in my pocket. And every year, I always have had to go in the pocket, to get them some particular
Yeah.
supply,
I don't think a lot of people fully recognize how much teachers spend, not just their own finances, but their time. I see teachers all the time shopping that, oh, I need this for my classroom. My kids need this. So like teachers really do sacrifice a lot when it comes to their time, their financial resources, their energy. That's good. So volunteering, um,
Provide.
sending, providing resources. What else can we do as parents or community members?
And let me throw this in there. In the very beginning, a lot of people, like church organizations and everything, they'll send in pencils and they'll send in paper, crayons, and all this sort of stuff. And they do. We do get some things, even though people still have to go in their pockets.
Mm-hmm.
But by January, we're scraping on the ground trying to find a piece of pencil. So, oh, this pencil will work. You know what I'm saying? Pieces of crayons, because, of course, they've used them.
Right.
They've lost them. They've taken them home. And or all along throughout the whole school year. Don't just let it be something that happens in the
At
fall.
the beginning.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, contribute things like alternate reading areas, like plush pillows, and what is it? The
Mm.
thing with the arms on it? I can't think of the name of it, but those sort of things to enhance the classroom. That's where I spent a lot of my money. I would do lap desks, and I made little benches and things like that, so the
Mm-hmm.
students could go in the reading area and sit on the little bench and read.
Mm.
Rugs, those sort of things to kind of make the atmosphere rich and warm and home-like.
That's good because I don't think a lot of people would think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised. I had a baby this year, and bless her heart, her family life was very, very bad. And in fact, DFAX is in the process of trying to help them now. So they didn't have the clothes.
Mm.
Hygiene was horrid, you know. So her home environment life was very, very poor, So an environment that's rich and colorful and has snacks. I would give snacks at the end of the day. It was not a lot. I would go in and with the
Mhm.
love and make little snack bags and put little chips. It was because someone had donated
Mm.
bags of chips and little, things that I could use. And I would go in and just put a few chips in a little snack bag at the end of the day. And that child made sure if she got checked out early, she made sure she got her snack. But
Mhm.
know the gravity of the situation
Yeah.
until closer to the end of school. And then she would ask me for a snack for herself, but she would ask me for a snack.
Mhm.
See, stuff like that, snacks and little gift bags and things that we could give to the kids to keep them motivated. It's amazing what a child will do for a Cheez-It. Oh, they are for a
That's sweet and sad at the same time.
Cheez-It. So I mean, stuff like anything that, because we did a PB, we were a PBIS school, and what we did was we give them tickets for being appropriate, and at the end of
Mhm.
2 weeks, they would trade in the tickets, and they would buy things, and um, sometimes it was snacks, sometimes it was pencils, little erasers, those sort of things. Let's contribute those sort of things to try to keep the kids motivated.
Yeah.
You know,
So I appreciate. I want to issue a challenge to everybody who's watching right now. If you are, willing to say next year, I'm going to put on my calendar to in January to send some of those things that Laura was talking about, whether that's snacks or extra school supplies or things to enhance the classroom, or even doing it in the fall, just making sure that we say, I'm going to do a little bit extra for my teachers, for the students, because there really are so many students that benefit from somebody just donating certain things to the classroom. So I think that's really good. And if you're in, go ahead and just put it in the comment section. I'm in. I agree to put on my calendar now that I'm going to be a part of the solution to help teachers and to help our students. Any other, closing words about how teachers or school officials can better take care of their mental health, or what they need to better take care of their mental health before we end?
My only suggestion is, because politics is not going to change overnight. It's not going to. The system is not going to change overnight. So my only suggestion is understand what you can do. Carve out a plan as far as what you can do to be your very best self. And that goes for admin as well. Administration, they're up under all sorts of pressure. They pressure us, but they have pressure over them. So I would even suggest that to admin. I see sometimes when the weight of the school is on their face. You know what I'm saying? So carve out what you can do. Make a plan. Stick to that plan. Celebrate your successes and what you can do with what you have. And then that helps you be your best self, and your children benefit from it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Laura, so much for joining. Everybody, go ahead and give Laura a shout out. If you learned something, if this was beneficial, make sure that you tag and share this video. We want to get those numbers up. We want people watching this, because every episode, my goal is to tear down the stigma of taking care of our mental health. I want to bring awareness to our communities about how to take care of our mental health. Get the word out here. Again, I am Tenitria Williams. If you are in need of someone to work with, let me know. I can help. Either I can work with you, or I can help you find someone who is a good fit for you, or help you, point you in the direction to get the right resources that you need. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you tag, share. If you have not liked my professional page, Tenitria Williams, public figure, go like that on Facebook. Also, go and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tenitria Williams. I am trying to get those numbers up. I am usually focused on Facebook, but I really want you guys to stop now and go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, give it up for Laura. Laura, thank you very, very much. We're probably going to bring in some more educators throughout, because I just think it's such a important dynamic. I try really hard to make sure I support teachers, because listen, I appreciate y'all, and I want you to keep doing what you're doing. COVID made me very, very I was already appreciative, but after COVID, I was like, listen, what can we do for these teachers? Because they need to be out there, and we need to be able to send our babies to them. So thank you to all the teachers. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. And join us next week, every Thursday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are right here every Thursday with Minding My Mental Health. If you've missed some broadcasts, go back and catch up. And again, thank you. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.